Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the video discussion series where my friend Dev and I go over each chapter of Konjiki no Gash 2, which is the sequel to Konjiki no Gash. So Zatch Bell 2, Zatch Bell, we got it. We all know what we're here for. We're in the middle of volume 2. Like we're all locked in.
Exactly.
I do want to say this is a re-recording of whatever episode 10 originally was. So I don't know what happened, but just like full transparency, like these next few episodes are going to be re-recordings, taking place much later in the year than the original recordings were. So whatever happened with my recording, the audio on my tracks were, cause like the way Dev and I do this is we both record ourselves on an episode and then we combine the two audio tracks to make the one that gets used for the videos we edit. And so, for whatever reason, like literally no settings were changed or anything like that from episodes 1 to like 17 or however much we recorded back like a handful of months ago. Whatever, I don't know what happened, but for episodes 10, 11, and then 11.5, which is the volume 2 intermission, the audio tracks for me were just muted. And there's no way to undo that. I don't think they weren't on mute when I was recording them, but just my voice is not in them. And so we can't just use, and we can't just have episodes of just Dev replying to nobody or things like that. So
Pinna had nothing to say in the original recording, so we thought it might be good if Pinna actually responded this time, so we're doing another take on that.
Yeah, we finished the episodes, and Dev was like, Pinna, you can't just think these thoughts to yourself, you have to actually say them into the microphone. And I was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I forgot.
Exactly.
But yeah, so like, because the way I mean, we recorded these episodes like forever ago, so like we were recording, I don't know, episodes 5 or 6 or something like that, like in like May or April or something like that.
Oh, God.
We did like one episode each weekend for months. And so right now it is October that we're recording these, but the ones you've been listening to up to this point have been from like May and June or July or things like that. So for the next few episodes, you are getting Dev and Pinna from the future. And then with episode 12, and then so episode 12 up to like 17 or 18 is us from a handful of months ago. And then after that, it'll be back to us being presently recording because we took a long break to work on the episodes to get them out. And by this point, when we're recording, the YouTube channel is out, and we posted 5 episodes so far, and everything. And we'll talk more about our response to it in the. Well, by now we would have already done that in the volume 1 intermission, because that part hasn't been recorded yet either. That little community feedback or community thoughts and input, things like that hasn't been recorded yet for that episode. So we'll talk more on our response to the reaction and receptiveness to this whole video series and everything in that episode. But for right now, at least, I'm just letting you guys know that this is us from the future, and yeah, so for episodes 10, 11, and the volume 2 intermission, these are all re-recordings. I don't think that really affects like the content that you'll be getting in the episode. Like, it's still gonna be the same summary, and we're still gonna have roughly the same thoughts on all the chapters and everything. But just for transparency's sake, in case there's like a topic or something we mentioned in a previous episode that we're not following up on in this episode, or just if we just sound like we're a little bit out of time in terms of what we're referring to or things like that, just full transparency, these are re-recordings from episodes that we initially recorded like months and months ago.
Yeah, so, in case one of us might reference something out of time, like Pinna said, like, if one of us say, like, oh, as of recording, 26 chapters are out, and then in the next few episodes, you hear, like, a much lower number for some reason.
Yeah, because usually, throughout the episodes, we're usually like, oh, at the time of recording, there's 22 chapters out, or 18 chapters out, or whatever number we were at. But now it's, like, at the time of recording, 26 chapters are out. But, like, I feel like at the time of recording the initial versions of these episodes, it was, like, 22 or 23 chapters were out or something. So just if things like that come up, like, just know, and we'll mention this again at the start of the next couple episodes too, that they are re-recordings. But yeah, just want to be like just full transparency, just full disclosure. These are re-recordings. But yeah,
whatever
really
jokes we had in the original episode 10 are gone and lost media, so
yeah,
we're gonna try to make up for that one.
Yeah, no, that's the before we started recording, I was like, that's the Mo problems of this situation. Since this episode's title is Mo Poruku, Mo Problems, which I love. That was Dev's idea forever ago. Now we are actually experiencing the Mo problems part of that situation.
We kind of are.
We are, but it'll be interesting diving back into these older chapters, because like the last one we recorded like chronologically was like 17 or 18, I think. And so to go back mentally to chapter 10, it'll be interesting, but I mean, I'm still really excited for it. This is still a really exciting chapter, so I'm ready for it.
For real. Like, I believe last episode we left off on Konchime's spellbook finally appearing before Fulgore again, and seeing Konchime obtain a brand new spell, Mo Poruku. Yep. So, very exciting stuff was being set up in the last chapter, so let's find out now what this spell is all about and how exactly they're going to get out of this current situation, because this whole chapter is very exciting, so why don't we get right into things?
Again.
Again! But alrighty, here is chapter 10 of Konjiki no Gash 2. So, the chapter picks up right where chapter 9 ended, with Konchime having just transformed when Fulgore had cast a new spell, Mo Poruku, which had turned Konchime into a large head with small arms and feet sticking out of it. Everyone stares at Konchime, unsure exactly what to think of this new form. Konchime, unaware of what he looks like, asks Fulgore what he's looking at. As everyone, including Gozer and Hylos, continue to stare at Konchime, Fulgore tells him that he looks very funny. Upon hearing this, Konchime begins to panic and feel his head, asking what the spell's new power is. Levy then exclaims to Gozer and Hylos that there's a big, tasty rice cake in front of them, referring to Konchime, and tells them to wolf it down in one bite. Gozer and Hylos then roar and dart towards Konchime. Konchime screams and tries to run away, but exclaims that he can't get his body to move and trips, falling to the ground. As Gozer bites and swipes at Konchime, and Hylos pecks at him, Konchime yells out. Fulgore runs over to them, having stuffed the book back in his shirt, carrying a bench he had picked up from nearby, and whacks them both with it, yelling at them to get away from Konchime. Konchime manages to get back up and continues to run away, but as he's running, he stops as he catches his reflection in a window, finally getting to see what he looks like. He points at his reflection and bursts out laughing, telling Fulgore that he was right and that he does look funny. Fulgore agrees, but then wonders aloud what Mo Poruku's special power is supposed to be. Gozer roars again as he lunges after Konchime once more. Konchime opens his mouth to yell, and Gozer accidentally goes right inside Konchime's mouth. Konchime closes his mouth, seemingly having eaten Gozer, and Fulgore asks if that's what he did. Levy screams out Gozer's name in concern and tells Hanagebu to launch an attack. He holds up the briefcase and is about to cast Biraitsu as Konchime appears to be chewing on Gozer inside his mouth, but then Konchime spits Gozer out and he hits the ground. Levy calls out to him and asks if he's alright, and when he turns around to face her, we see Gozer's muzzle has been replaced with a duckbill resembling Konchime's. Levy is confused as she and Gozer stare at each other, and Fulgore points and laughs, saying that he has the same duckbill as Konchime, and that a bite from a mouth like that wouldn't hurt him one bit. Gozer goes after Fulgore and bites him, and Fulgore yells out in pain, saying that he had forgotten that Konchime has teeth too. Of course. Konchime and Fulgore yell out to each other, and Konchime's bill extends from his head and bites down on Gozer again. Levy and Hanagebu watch as Konchime munches some more before spitting Gozer back out. Hanagebu, Levy, and Fulgore all observe that Gozer's hind legs have now taken on the appearance of Konchime's long legs. Levy asks Hanagebu what's happening to Gozer. He says he isn't sure, but that Mo Poruku isn't one of the spells that Besu Mirateo had taken. It is not entirely clear who Besu Miratio is, or what that name is meant to be, but given that the only creature we had seen actually taking away the demon spells was that large serpent dragon from Zelly's flashback in a previous chapter, it is possible that Hanagebu is referring to that. So, crazy start to the chapter as always. I love how this chapter starts off with how everyone is just staring at Kanchime, completely silent in reaction to his transformation, and even Kanchime himself didn't realize what had happened, is basically just like, hey guys, what are you looking at? Like, it's just so funny to me, like, he like, it took him a while before he finally processed, like, what the spell actually did for him, and, like, seeing
and we still don't even know, like...
Seeing him, like, immediately stumble over as he tried to run was also exactly what I was expecting to. Like, this spell is definitely nothing that could help him mobility-wise. Like, this is just such an insane concept for a new spell look in general, you know?
Yeah, no, it's just, like, it's crazy that, like... I mean, firstly, that Raikou even, like, thought of this, but then also it's just so funny how, like, there's no like intuitiveness in terms of like any of them knowing what the spell does either. So it's like literally they have to like use this battle to figure out what the spell even does in the first place. It's like, yeah, you cast it, you got a new spell, cool, but like now it's like how to use it. Like, how do you use it? Like, it's just
go
like,
figure it out.
Yeah, like it's crazy. Like an added layer of like what you have to do in the battle. It's like you can't just like fight and win. It's like you also have to like you also have to like buy enough time to learn what your spell even does. Like,
it's
that's
classic Zatch Bell right there.
I know, right? Like, what
this
is
is not
glowing?
this is this is not their first rodeo.
Yeah, and yet at the same time though, like even though they've done this like a bunch of times before, it's like it never gets any easier because it's always a new spell. So it's like, yeah, they've done this before, but like they still don't know. That doesn't provide them any context for what this spell does.
Fulgore is just like, God damn it, not again.
I know. He's like, why does he look like that?
Yeah. Exactly. Also, can I just say, what's crazy too is like seeing Fulgore in these first few pages just bring out this bench to start hitting Gozer and Hylos with. It's like, so random, but it's so funny too. Like you said, like he is just so casually swinging it around. Like, personally for me, never tried lifting a park bench myself, but I imagine it's probably at least a little heavy to just throw around so casually like he's doing here. It's so funny. It's so goofy looking, like seeing him do that. I love that.
I know. And like at least here in the States, like benches are like bolted into the cement. So like the fact that this bench is just like liftable is already surprising to me. Like, but yeah, the fact that he's like, oh, I gotta do something, and he's just like, oh, a bench, and then he just like runs up to them and starts just whacking them with a bench is just crazy.
Here in the States, normally benches are bolted down.
I mean, I don't know, like, I can't speak to other, like, I don't know if other countries are like that as well, but, like, my experience with benches, like, at parks and stuff.
In the universe of Zatch Bell, they don't bolt down the benches.
I guess, like, I don't know what it's like in other countries, but, like, at least in the U.S., like, or at least in California, like, there's not...
California only.
Like, any park or whatever I've been to, like, the benches are, like, welded into the ground or whatever. Like, I don't know, but so just the fact that Fulgore is able to just like lift a bench is just like, I'm already in disbelief at that, let alone how heavy the bench must be.
This is the most unrealistic thing in the entire series.
Yeah,
isn't
I'm like,
it?
wow, this really is a fantasy series, huh?
Exactly. But oh my goodness, can I just say too, like, I remember during the whole wait for this chapter, like, I was really, really, really trying my hardest to figure out what could Kanchime even do in this form. Like, how was he supposed to take down two large animal beasts like this?
Yeah.
And, you know, as it turns out, the answer is quite simple. You just eat them.
I know. Like, the fact that his mouth is so big that Gozer just, like, leaps right in is so funny. Like, that panel is just like, oh! Like, he's not even trying to eat him. He's yelling in fear of Gozer showing up. And in him yelling, Gozer just like, whoop!
Yeah. I'm looking at that panel too right now. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Again, like you said, he's not even trying to eat him, but he just happened to go into his mouth.
Yeah. Like,
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Like, I remember, like, how everyone before this chapter came out and, you know, how the last chapter had ended showing off, you know, what Poruku looked like. Everyone was joking around saying, like, he's basically Kirby now. He's Kirby-shaped. He has Kirby powers now. And honestly, they were all right. Like, he quite literally is. But also, like, it's just such a very unique spell concept for him. Like, we've seen how a lot of his spells are focused around him transforming himself or his surroundings, but this is the first time we see Kanchime have this ability to physically transform others, which is so interesting. And here we see how Gozer is taking on more of Kanchime's physical characteristics every time he swallows him. Like, genuinely, how do you even come up with this idea? Like, I would love to know about where this concept came from. It's so good.
Yeah. it's like reverse Kirby kind of, because like he's not sucking them up and taking on their abilities. It's like he's sucking them up and then making them look like him, which is like crazy. And it's funny because I don't remember specifically, especially not now, because this is months after the initial time we recorded this, but before this chapter came out, like literally the day before, I was just like kind of spitballing in our conversations and stuff, and I was like, what if it brainwashes them or something when he sucks them, when he eats them or something like that, or something along those lines. And then, like, I mean, we don't fully know what it does yet, but like, I mean, I wasn't far off.
Yeah,
which is like crazy, right. But I mean, it's just, I mean, yeah, I'm really, I wonder if like Raikou, like, cause like, I don't know how far ahead he thinks of like what the spells do, cause like in terms of his like story planning or something, for all we know, he might just be like, when he's plotting out the chapters or something, he can be like, and then a new spell comes out, and then somehow they win, and then he just like starts getting on to the next part or something, and then once he actually starts like developing the battle, maybe he tries to think of like what would help them in this moment or something. And so maybe like, I mean, I guess I'm just like brainstorming how I would approach the situation if I didn't already know what I wanted the spell to do or something. Maybe he was like trying to look at it in terms of like, okay, what's the biggest threat in this battle, and what kind of spell based on like Kanchime's powers and everything could mitigate that threat a little bit or something. And so maybe he was like, okay, well, these monsters are bad, so they need to be like made more docile or like controlled or something somehow or something. And then maybe he kind of just like develops it from that. But then at the same time, I mean, I don't know, that's a complete guess on my part. Like, that's just like how I can see one way of it going, but like it's still so like creative and inventive, and just like the way that we can see how Kanchime looks like this and still not know what the spell does fully is just like so like exciting that Raikou is still able to surprise us in this way.
No, for real. Like, it's always, for me, it's always hard to predict like how any of these battles go, but that's kind of like what makes these battles and new spells and everything so very exciting, because it's just really fun. Like, these are like very unique and interesting ideas, and I just already I love how things are playing out in this chapter. And I want to say too, like, one of my favorite jokes already is just like the fact that as soon as Gozer's muzzle had been transformed to Kanchime's duck beak, Fulgori's immediately like, ha ha ha, like, there's no way like his bite's gonna hurt me now. And then he's like, oh fuck, I forgot Kanchime has teeth.
Yeah, no, because we never see them, so it was just like, it's so funny for me, like, oh, I forgot he has teeth, like, it's just like, oh god,
he's just like me for real.
You forget you have teeth.
I have 2 IQ, okay?
Or you forget
2 brain cells. Yeah.
Got it. I misunderstood. I'm so sorry.
Not okay.
What was I
Get
gonna
rid
say?
of this recording. We're gonna do a take 3 on this.
Oh my god, imagine. You're like, oh no, my recording, like your recording was lost now too. What was I gonna say?
I turn off OBS in the middle of this and be like, oh,
God.
Pinna, I didn't notice I wasn't recording here.
Oh my god, I'd be so sad. I'd be like, you know what? The listeners can read chapter 10 themselves.
This is like sustained silent reading time.
Yeah. The episode 10 is just like it's just the visual that's playing and the music in the background, but then just like nothing happening, no conversation. I was gonna say too, especially with Kanchame's spells, given his attribute is like transformation, that like that's such a broad, like when it comes to like getting a new spell or something, it's like for Gash or like the ones who are like very like, I don't know, attack based or whatever, like I feel like those are pretty straightforward, where it's like you cast a spell, okay, like he shoots lightning in this way, or he creates a lightning whatever and it attacks that, and it's kind of still straightforward, except for like the exceptions like Rauzaruk or something. But like with Kanchame, it's like literally transformation, anything can happen. Like he could anything can happen. And so it's like it's an added thing of like, it's not just like, oh, like Gash can now like do a whatever kind of attack now. It's just like, it's like, oh, what transforming what? Like what is this? Like this could literally be anything.
Literally, but that's part of the fun. It can be anything at all.
It can, and it is.
Yeah.
And it was.
And it was. I want to say, too, like, I absolutely wasn't expecting him to also be able to extend his mouth like he does in some of these pages. Like I said, this spell is so extremely unique and not what I was expecting for him at all. But given what we're already seeing here in this first batch of pages, now I was like, okay, so this is how we're gonna beat them. I'm starting to see Raiku's vision here. Like, it's all starting to make sense now.
I just think it's really interesting too how this spell, I mean, I guess I'm going to use like RPG terms, but like the spell's ability like can stack, like, because it's like the first bite is just the beak, and then a second bite actually does more to Gozer, and it's just like, oh, so this can stack on itself too. Like that's also just a crazy like mechanic of the spell to have.
Yeah, like there's a lot going on with the spell. It's like way more than what I could have expected at first, just looking at it. It's so goofy looking, but it's so very intricate, like you said.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy.
Yeah.
There's more to come with this chapter, but already we're off to a pretty crazy start.
Literally. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say, like, when they mentioned that name in this chapter, Besu Mirateo, I was literally like, who the hell are they talking about? Like, is this a character we've yet to see or something? Like, it took me off guard. I was like, what kind of name is this? But the only thing we've seen steal everyone's spells is that giant dragon monster snake thing, so congrats to it for getting a name, I guess, but I'm still stumped to this day wondering what that name is supposed to be, you know, like, if it even is supposed to be something else than how we've been referring to it. Like, keeping it as is, from the katakana we see on these pages is fine and all, and it works, and it's the only thing I can think of too, but I still can't help but wonder, like, is this supposed to be translated as something else? Like, I don't know. It's certainly a name.
Yeah. like it works in like if you're like in katakana, but like in English, honestly, it's so hard to say. So it's like that's why I'm really curious too. Like, what is this meant to be? Something else? Like, is the B meant to be a V? Like, is there supposed to be a TH somewhere in there? Because like phonetically in English, this name is a nightmare. And like it wasn't until I was writing the summary for this episode when I realized that like we technically don't know who this is referring to. Like contextually, we can like kind of infer that it's potentially that monster that we saw just based on everything that based on the way Hanagebu refers to it. But like technically, we don't actually have any confirmation of like, yes, that thing is called that or whatever. And so it's kind of just wild to me that like now, at the time of recording with 26 chapters, we have not like gotten any actual clarification on that. We kind of just have to like go based on like contextually, this is probably what he's referring to. But the fact that we don't actually have that confirmation is pretty crazy to think about, because this chapter was like like a year and a half ago by this point, or 2 years ago or something.
I don't even remember anymore.
Right? Like the sequel's been out since I was 10 for all I know. Like it feels like it's been forever. And so so I just, that name, I don't know what it's supposed to be. Like it's just so many syllables, and like I mean, with other names that Raikou uses, like there are other weird names for sure, but like there's usually at least some type of like English way to say it that we can like guess that it is meant to be or something, or based on other examples of it being used in other pieces of media, we can kind of like infer like, oh, this person's name is this, or this person's name should be this, or whatever. But it's like with this one is like we have no idea. Like, is it parts of different words or names combined together? Is it some word that means something that we just aren't aware of yet? Like, it's not in any piece of media. Anytime I've looked up the characters of it, it's always people talking about this chapter, and they're like, what is that? Like, so it's just like the fact that even the Japanese readers don't know what this is just like, okay, cool. So we're all on the same page of not knowing what Raikou's writing. We're
all on the same page. I love how you described it as like a phonetic nightmare in English.
It is like it's so, that's like, oh god, like one of my favorite things to do is when Raikou gives us a new character or something, is trying to figure out what like the katakana is like intended to be, because obviously like katakana is used, I know we explained this at one point in one of the episodes, but I don't know if it's an episode that will actually be aired or if it's in one of the ones that we have to re-record. So just in case, like katakana is usually used to spell out foreign words, so like words or names that are foreign to Japanese. And so when that happens, there's a lot of like there's a lot of U's, like the letter U, there's a lot of U's within a katakana name or word or something that get dropped when you're actually saying it like in whatever language it's meant to like be for or something like that. So like you would drop a lot of the U's, or like just consonants or things like that would drop the U's at the end or something when you're saying the word or the name in English. Or just like there's just subtle differences of like how you would say it in Japanese versus English with the katakana and everything. And so usually with the names that Raikou gives us in katakana, we're able to figure out like what, like for, I mean, off the top of my head, like Robnos's partner in Japanese, like in the katakana, it's just Ruku, but like in English, it's most likely Luke. But like you would drop the U at the end, the R is an L, things like that. And so, but with a name like Besu Murateo, like we can't figure out like the Besu part, like that could be a TH, the B could be a V, like I said earlier. It's like there are a lot of different things that could be meant to be something else, but in this case we don't have any basis for it, because like what the hell is that name? It's not like an actual person's name so that we can base off any like instances of that name being spelled that way or something. It's like we do not know what word or name this is meant to be, so we kind of just have to like leave it as the katakana, which is, I mean, as I said, phonetically a nightmare to like pronounce and say and everything. And I'm always like, I mean, sorry, I'm rambling at this point. I'm really fascinated by all of this like name translation and things like that. Like I love when Raikou does this so that we can like try, it's like a puzzle, honestly. Like, I mean, I've spent the last handful of years kind of doing this with characters from the first series that I just feel like weren't given much thought into when it was being localized. And so it was kind of just like usually left at whatever the katakana would make it or something like that. But there are a lot of characters' names where I'm like, no, I think it should be this instead or something. And so it's like really kind of like a puzzle to like, or like a code to crack or something like that. And so with a sequel, especially where there is no official localization or anything, it's like it really is up to us to try and figure out what these names are. And in the case of Besu Murateo, we have no idea what to even guess with it. But anyways, I can go on and on and on and on about names. So I'll stop. But like, it's just so fascinating to me.
No, for real. Can I just say too, like, I know you just had to say the name while you're explaining things, but can I just say too, like, technically you didn't have to even like say it all. All you have to do is just like leave it in the summary for me, and I'm just like, great, awesome. I have to say it once again for these.
Oh my gosh, I know. Yeah, earlier today when you were like, oh no, this is the one where I have to say this again, I was like, oh no, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I completely forgot. Like as it was mentioned, it's been a while since chapter 10 happened for us, and I'm just like, okay, well, back to facing my demons once again, aka that name specifically. But anyways, Beth Mulatto aside, crazy things are going on here, and why don't we find out what happens from here?
Beth Mulatto is insane.
I mean, for all we know, that could be what the official English localization is gonna be for it.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, literally, I don't know why, but like in my head, whenever I saw the name, I would just be like, "Yeah, Beth Militia." But like, those aren't even letters. Militia isn't even in there. But it's just like mentally. Like, that's just like, I'm just like, yeah, Beth Militia. But it's like, it could be so many things. I have no idea.
Good luck to whatever localization team gets this series. Anyways.
Yeah, fingers crossed though. I mean, I don't care. Like, they can call it whatever. I don't care. If we got it in English, that'd be really, really cool.
No, same. Just getting that in English would be perfect already.
Yeah, Square Enix, if you're listening. Yen Press, if you're listening. Kodansha, if you're listening. Seven Seas, somebody please.
They all tune in to the series.
I mean, listen, if you guys want to hire us as consultants for the series, like we are historians for the series. We can help you.
Gash historians for real.
Literally. I'll do it for free at this point. I don't care. Just get it out in English, please.
Exactly.
Anyways,
let's go on and see what happens from here. So, Levy calls out to Gozer, telling him that all Consume and Fulgore had done was morph his mouth and legs, and says that once they crush Consume and Fulgore, she's sure that he'll return to normal. She orders him to go back to the killing spree, but he doesn't move or respond. She calls out to him again, catching his attention, and he turns around to face her with an absent-minded grin. Levy runs up to him, thinking to herself that something seems odd about him, and calls out to him, telling him to return to her body. She reabsorbs him into her hair, and her braid returns, curling itself back into place in a bun on her head. Just as it's about to fully curl in place, it stops, and Levy begins to twitch before Gozer is forcibly expelled from her body as the hair transforms back into Gozer and knocks them both to the ground. Internally, Levy first thinks it was her body, but then realizes that it was Gozer's body that had rejected her. Gozer, still more from Consume's spell, struggles to stand back up. Levy asks Consume what he had done to Gozer. She then repeats the question, furious now, asking Consume what he had done to her Gozer. Consume begins sweating, thinking to himself that he really has no idea why Gozer's like that now. Levy raises her arm and commands Hylos to merge with her body and unleash his power, saying she is done playing around. Hylos flies back to Levy and merges with her body, becoming a large fusion of the two, growing in size, with the translucent chamber of liquid in its chest. Fulgore exclaims that Hylos made itself larger, and Consume internally notices its eyes, saying that he can see from its eyes that something is wrong. As a side note, the Hylos-Levy fusion will be referred to as Hylos in this summary for simplicity's sake, but when it speaks, that is Levy talking. Hylos juts out his wing, destroying the tree they were standing beside, surprising Fulgore with their strength. Consume observes to himself that Hylos powered up, and then thinks back to how Gozer had been a lot stronger too when he had been part of Levy. Hylos flies after Consume, and Consume exclaims his name as he stretches out his mouth to eat Hylos. Hanagebu casts Buraitsu, and the laser beam shoots out from the bottle, knocking away Consume's mouth. Hanagebu calls out to Levy, telling her that even if abruptly changing directions disorients her, she has to steer clear of Consume's mouth. He then tells her to fly through and create an opening, and casts Dorusen. Hylos' tail feathers harden into rock shards that it launches out at Consume and Fulgore. Fulgore shields them from the attack with the bench he'd used earlier. Consume begins to cry as he states that, just like always, his powers are hard to figure out. He tells himself that he has to get a handle on them because they need this in order to win. He then exclaims that they have to take back the demon world. Hylos then goes in for a spinning dive, and Fulgore tells Conchime to move, but before they can get out of the way, Hylos drills through them, a tree, and keeps going into the building behind them. Conchime, now upside down, struggles to get right side up, and Fulgore picks the bench back up again, which is now a bit banged up after Hylos' attack. He charges towards Hanagebu, swinging the bench at him and yelling at Hanagebu, telling him to let go of the briefcase. Hanagebu kicks Fulgore in the chin and he's sent flying, but he gets right back up again to charge at Hanagebu once more. Hanagebu raises his hand, saying that the style taught at the school of Nihao Gomu is one that emphasizes not only magic, but martial arts as well. As he knees Fulgore's torso, he exclaims that while Fulgore may have formidable strength, he is the one who is far stronger and much better trained. He then punches Fulgore directly in the face. Fulgore thinks about Conchime's family photo that Consume had shown him, and Fulgore tells Hanagebu that even so, he can't afford to back out now. Conchime tells himself that he has to do his part too, and he calls out his own name again as he extends his bill and grabs Gozer, yet again. This enrages Levi from within Hylos, and Hylos flies after Conchime. Conchime thinks to himself that now that Hylos wants to dive after him, that just makes them easier to hit. He tumbles over to one side to dodge Hylos' attack, and his forehead gets grazed by one of Hylos' talons. As Hylos flies by, however, Conchime manages to grab Hylos by his foot. He spits out Gozer, who, we can briefly see, has Conchime's arms and head now as well, and then begins stretching out his bill, repeatedly, and as he keeps exclaiming his own name, he tries to catch Hylos. Hylos keeps dodging and decides to fly high into the sky, taking Conchime with him. Fulgore calls out after Conchime, and Conchime keeps trying and failing to reach any part of Hylos with his bill. After taking Conchime very high above the city, Levi tells him that now he will know the true terror of the winged beast. Conchime tries to hold on to Hylos' talons, but Hylos tries to kick Conchime, eventually breaking out of his grip to send him plummeting to the ground. However, just as Conchime starts to fall, he turns around and outstretches his bill, catching both of Hylos' feet in his mouth. Levi asks if just the talons were enough for Conchime's spell to work, and as Conchime begins chewing, Hylos looks down and says to himself that there's no way, then continues aloud that even though Conchime is only eating Hylos' legs, it still triggered the transformation. Because of this, Levi is forcefully ripped from Hylos, much like she had been with Gozer. Now separating from Hylos, Levi, Hylos, and Conchime all begin to fall. Levi calls out to Hanagebu, who raises the briefcase, ready to cast a spell, when a couple of men tackle him from the side. They exclaim that they will not let Fulgore go through this alone, and that they are also proud people of Milan. In tackling Hanagebu, this knocks the briefcase out of his grip, and the bottles fall out as well. Fulgore then dives after the spell bottle with Tio Saifogio inside, successfully grabbing it.
Yay!
Same. Through frantically flapping his wings, Hylos was able to bring everyone down to the ground without crashing, and as soon as they reach the ground, Levi is fully expelled from Hylos' body, Hylos breaks free from Conchime's mouth, and Conchime falls to the ground, where we then see Hylos' legs have turned into Conchime's, including Conchime's shorts. So, taking a quick pause for now. Oh my goodness, so much happened here. I want to start off first by saying, this whole page showing how Levi can no longer recontain Gozer in her hair because of how Conchime had transformed it is really something, because not only is it so surprising to see how Poruku is, affecting Gozer in this way, but, seeing that detail shot of, Levi's hair and skin twisting and contorting is so painful to just look at. I can feel that.
I know, you can see the veins in her face, and just the way that her eyes have no pupils and everything. It just feels so visceral and just oh my god. It's kind of body horror in a way, and it's just
it really is.
It's really intense, but it's it shows just how painful that is. Whatever Conchime is doing to Gozer is affecting his DNA, I guess. He's not compatible with he's not able to be absorbed by Levi's body anymore. That's just that this spell is next level. This is crazy.
Seriously, it is crazy. And right after that too, we just see how pissed off Levi is because of what Kanchime had done to Gozer, but I absolutely love how Kanchime just looks so clueless and genuinely confused in that one panel, just saying like, oh, I don't know what's going on either, like,
no, I know his face, and she's like, what did you do to Gozer? He's like, I don't know, like...
I love how his face looks in that panel.
Same.
But, oh my goodness, like, okay, massive scary bird transformation aside here, like, I'm very, very intrigued by how Kanchime is fixated on, like, bird Levi's eyes and seems very troubled by just that alone.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just the fact that she had transformed, but there's something about her eyes that's making him feel worried. Like, I guess I'm kind of wondering, though, like, if there's something significant about the eyes itself that has him worried, or could it just be her general expression making him feel that way or something? Like, I'm honestly not sure. Like, the reason I'm kind of questioning this is because I think Gozer's eyes already look similar to the eyes in that panel. Like, I'm not sure if we get a good look at the detail for Hylos' eyes too prior to this, but just seeing how it is for Gozer alone makes me think that maybe it's just the intensity behind her eyes or something that's making him worried and not the eyes itself, but who knows? Like, I don't know. What do you think of that part?
Yeah, my interpretation of this part was that just like from like Hylos or Levi or whoever's eyes those technically are, because now they're both the same being.
Yeah.
But like just the expression that it was giving, kind of like how in a similar way, like when Gash and Kiyomaru are fighting against Kalulu, and Gash is like, why are they crying while they're fighting? It's kind of like that sense of like, my interpretation of this scene is like Kanchime is kind of just like what this look in its eyes, like there's something is off, and because I mean like. So I feel, I mean, I can't comment on it quite yet because it hasn't happened in the chapter yet, but like I feel like this is kind of just alluding to Kanchime picking up on the what Hylos and by extension potentially Gozer as well are like feeling during this battle, like how like just how, I mean. Yeah, I can't comment on that more yet, I guess. But that's how I interpret this scene of Kanchime is picking up on their, like, it's Kanchime's emotional intelligence, and he's picking up on like something is off just based on the look in its eyes.
No, that's a really good take. Like, I honestly didn't consider that part before. Like you said, we can't say too much about that part right now, but that's a really, really good observation still. But also, like, aside from that whole part, seeing these pages where we just see Fulgore step in to protect Kanchime still had me losing it over the fact that he's again carrying around this bench like it's nothing, you know, swinging it around like it's nothing. But then we see Fulgore start running towards Hanagebu, bench in hand, and is just swinging it towards him as a weapon. And it's so fucking hilarious to me. Like, I was crying when I was first going through this chapter, like when it first came out. Like, it's so chaotic. Like, this, like, the whole fight between them, like, it's just crazy. Like, I'm not sure what about it, but seeing Fulgore this involved in the battle, you know, quite literally having his own battle here with Hanagebu feels sort of new. Like, from all the previous battles he was involved with in the previous series, because we rarely ever see the humans fight each other.
Yeah, I was gonna say
and
the same thing.
Yeah, and I don't think this has happened with Fulgore before either. And so seeing him just in an actual physical fight feels so crazy to me.
No,
and
like literally. Oh yeah, sorry. Good.
Yeah, well, I didn't have like I had like one more brief thing here. I was gonna say This was pretty much my exact same thoughts back in Volume 1, where we see Kiyomaru fighting Waig by himself.
Yeah.
And it's honestly really cool seeing these bookkeepers become so much more involved in the battles. Like, that's not to say they weren't involved at all in the previous series. It's just that we rarely saw them need to step in and deal with enemies beyond just casting spells towards them. And honestly, I hope we get to see more of this with future returning characters, because it's crazy, it's fun, it's iconic.
No, literally, like it's really, really cool seeing them so, I don't even know, like locked in. Like
they're locked in.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, yes, obviously their hearts were in it in the first series and everything too, but it's just like there's something about these battles now that are happening in the sequel that are just like the bookkeepers feel more than just like the supplier of the power or whatever that the demons use. It's like he's doing his own. It kind of reminds me of gosh, which one is it? Well, a few of them, like mostly it's kind of reminding me of like the GameCube, well, I guess, and also PS2 game, Mamoto Fury, where you can separate who you're playing as, and you can like I forgot what it doesn't matter which button does it, but one of the buttons like lets you, because usually you're running around as a unit, like, you know, partner and demon and casting the spells and everything, but then there's also where you can separate the two of you, and the demon just like runs off on its own and just does whatever, and then you play as the bookkeeper, and you can like run right up to the opponent and like punch the bookkeeper or something and get their book out of their hands and things like that. It kind of reminded me of that, where it's like Kanchame is doing his own part in the fight, and also like Fulgore is doing his part, and just seeing him go toe to toe like this with Hanage-buu is like great. Like as soon as he gets knocked back from Hanage-buu's kick to the chin, which looks so painful, by the way.
Yeah.
Fulgore is like immediately dashing right back towards him to fight him again, and just seeing that like determination and like anger in Fulgore's like expression is just like really, it's really interesting to me, because like we see that from him a little bit in the first series, but just seeing this, just like he is like just trying to take Hanage-buu down, and like he's not letting anything stop him. He's just continuously trying to do that. And it's just like, I don't know, it's just really, really cool to see. Like, I feel like the only times we really, I mean, at least off the top of my head, I mean, it's been a while since I reread the first series, but at least off the top of my head, like when Gash and Kyumaru are fighting against Barry, like Kyumaru gets the tractor or whatever, and like to bring the building down or something on Barry. So it's like, that's kind of like a partner involvement type of thing, but like for the most part, like he wasn't like trying to like fight Gustav or anything like that. And so it's like for the fact that we get to see that type of thing in the sequel, where it's like they are both doing their own thing, like they're both like fighting in their own like ways and everything together, is just like I really like it. Like it's just a new level of like teamwork and everything that we didn't really get to see before the way we're seeing now, and I just think it's really, really cool.
I think there was also that one time where Lien tried to go at Genso, but like I said, like these things like very rarely happen. It's few and far between. So just seeing this happen in the sequel, seeing Fulgore so involved in this, because Fulgore wasn't involved in any physical fights like this with other bookkeepers in the original series, at least not that any I can remember right now. So yeah,
he had to tap into his lion to fight Hanage-buu.
Exactly. I forgot where I was going with my original point, but I want to just say too, as I'm looking at the pages right now, this one page showing Fulgore stopping Hanage-buu's fist, like after he had this like perfect punch to Fulgore's face, like, and like the way that we see Fulgore just tell him like there's no way he's gonna back out now or whatever, like on top of us seeing that family picture again, like it's just so crazy. Like there's so much going on here. Like I just really like that page in general. It goes incredibly hard.
Yeah, and like I used the phrasing earlier, but like just seeing them so like locked in of like they know what they are fighting to protect. Like they know what they are in this battle to, like they know why they have to stop this battle. They know why they have to, like what they have to fight for and everything, and just seeing how much they are capable of, because that is what they are fighting for, is just like really, really cool. Like they have a cause. And like, I mean, they never didn't have a cause, but just like seeing that reminder of like they're fighting to get back like Kanchame's family and just the demon world like as a whole and everything. And so just seeing that is like the reminder of like that is what they are fighting for right now, and seeing how strong they are because that's what they're fighting for it just ties into so many of the themes of this series, and I just love so much how it's being like portrayed and expressed here.
Exactly. Also, I think I want to say here too, like as I have the whole page in front of me, as I'm looking at that panel of Fulgore holding back Kanagebu's wrist, I think it was here, or maybe it was like a page or two earlier. It was when I finally noticed that Fulgore had the spell book tucked in his shirt, because when I was first going through this, I was kind of wondering, like, you know, where did the spell book go to? And I think in the original series, he used to tuck it behind him in his pants when he needed to do something with his hands or something.
Yeah, you're right.
But I was like, regardless, it took me a bit to finally notice, and then I was like, why is there this rectangular outline in the center of his shirt here? That's weird. Like, I did not process that for a while. Like, again, I think it shows up, I think it's like noticeable earlier than the panel I'm referring to, but I just wanted to bring that up. Like, I did not notice that for a while, and I was like, that's kind of weird.
No, same. I think it wasn't until you pointed it out at some point that I, like, cause I was, it's like, part of me was kind of wondering, like, what happened to the book, but then at the same time, like, there were so many other things happening where I was like, okay, well, whatever, I just need to know what happens.
Yeah.
But then, like, it makes sense that he has to have the book, like, still, like, on his person, because, like, the spell still needs to be happening and everything, because as soon as he would lose contact with the book, the spell would end and everything. And so I just think it's really cool that, like, Raikou, like, thought, like, Raikou thinks about this sort of thing when he's like, I guess, choreographing a battle, you could phrase it. And so just the fact that he, like, has that covered, and he's like, okay, well, if Fulgore needs to be using both of his hands during this, what could I have him do? And so it's like, okay, he's wearing a button-up shirt, so he can unbutton it a little bit, put the book in there so it's still, like, making contact with him, and then he is free to use his hands. And it's just like, that's just such a cool, like layer to the battle that, like, Raikou has to think about when he's planning out how these battles play out. Like, he also has to keep in mind, like, how is the bookkeeper holding the book, and how are they going to hold it if they have to do something else with their hands or something. I just think it's really, really cool, and I didn't even notice it or clock it until you pointed it out. And I just really, really appreciate, like, this battle for having that, like, level of, like, thought put into it. I just think it's really cool.
For a while before I finally noticed where it was, I don't know, I was, like, fully willing to accept, okay, guess he just doesn't have it now. Like, you know how in cartoons where, like, a character is, like, holding something and then the next frame it's just kind of gone until they need it again later. Like, I was fully willing to accept, okay, it's just not here right now, but it'll be back later.
Yeah, maybe it's in his hair or something.
Yeah. Exactly.
But no, I really like that detail, and the fact that, like, it's depicted in every single panel that, like, you can see Fulgore's body, like, that level of thought too. It's not just like on a close up we can see that's where it is. It's like literally the panel, like, where it's, like, zoomed out and we see Hanagebu's, like, fist, like, against Fulgore's face and everything. We can see the book is there, and it's like every panel that it would be visible, it is visible. It's just easy to miss when you're not looking for it. But
exactly.
Like, the fact that it's depicted in every single panel is just like, there's so much thought put into this, and I love that level of detail.
Same. I just love everything going on here.
Yeah.
And I love how on, like, the next page right after that, like, where we see Kanchime extending his mouth again to swell up Gozer, I just want to say, like, here, like, I felt bad for Gozer on this page because bro is just trying to get away. He wasn't even attacking him anymore. He was just running away.
I know. He's like, not again.
Yeah. I just love the expression on it.
I know. And even Levy is pissed. She's like, Gozer again? Like,
no, for real. That pissed her off.
She's like, I'm your opponent right now. Like, leave him alone.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Again, like, bro is just trying to get away.
I know.
It's just so funny. Like, this whole thing is just, the whole battle is so chaotic, and I love it. That is, like, peak Zatch Bell. Like, and oh my goodness, speaking of, like, how things are progressing in this battle, like, the 2-page spread where we see, like, that huge shot of the city, like, it's so crazy. There is so much detail in all of the little things here. Like, it's so fun to zoom in on. Like, oh my goodness. I genuinely want to know how long this took, because I swear to God, there was, like, back when Bergden Board, like, shared some, like, behind the scenes, like, short clips showing.
Yeah, I was gonna say this was one of them, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we saw a clip of, like, someone just drawing in stuff here. Like, this wasn't just, like, fully, I don't know, like, generated or whatever. Like, someone was, like, hand drawing all this in, and I genuinely want to know, how long did this take?
I know. I remember when this came out, too, I was trying to, like, I mean, barely try, because it would be too much work, but initially I was, like, trying to see if I could find where, like, if this was actually, like, geographically, like, an actual location in Milan or something, because there's a few things in it that look like kind of landmarks. Like, there's, like, a church looking thing, like a cathedral.
Yeah, this has to reference something, you know?
Yeah, this has to be, like, actually, like, the actual map of some place in Italy or something, but I didn't look too hard, because it was just, like, I mean, because it's also a manga depiction of it, so it's like there could be things that are a little different and hard to match up, but, like, a lot of it just looks like genuinely what it probably looks like, the land, like, the not landscape, but, like, the bird's eye view of it and everything. But so just, like, but the level of detail of this is breathtaking, and also it's just, like, they're so high up, like, they are so high, like, this is, to have this kind of view, that's like airplane level of, like, elevation. And so the fact that this is how high they are up, like, that's terrifying.
Yeah, I'm just, like, looking at Consume's expression there. He's just like, uh-oh.
Yeah, he's like, can we go back?
He is certainly in a situation. Like I keep saying throughout this video, like, the whole fight is nothing but chaotic, but the way that we went from Konsume being taken into the air to him managing to transform Hylos' legs and force Hylos and Levi to separate, to them all falling, to Hanagebu being tackled down, and then to see Fulgore dive straight in for Saifojio.
Yeah.
Like, thank God he took it back. Oh my goodness.
I know. Also, like, as you're reading the summary too, I wrote, like, a couple of guys tackle Hanagebu, and I'm looking at the panel. There's literally, like, 4 men there. Like, that's more than just a couple. but no, I was so glad that Fulgore was so fixated on getting Saifojio back, because, like, I mean, like, I really appreciated that. I was like, thank God someone has it. Like, someone on the good guy has it now.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's out of the bad guy's hand and everything. Like, I was really, really appreciative of that being, like, one of Fulgore's, like, goals in this fight, was to get Tio's bottle back.
I'm pretty sure I must have mentioned this in the previous episode. Like, I don't remember right now, because, again, it's been a little while.
So many months ago. It's totally
been
fine.
A little
We're
while
different people.
We are different people. Yeah, it's been a little while since we recorded that one, so I'm, like, again, I'm forgetting if I mentioned it or not, but I just want to say again, like, as soon as we saw the Saifojio bottle back in chapter whatever, like, again, my first thought was just immediately
chapter
you.
Whatever.
Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, like, I like, seeing the Saifojio bottle again, like, when we first saw it, I was just immediately thinking about what your reaction is, like, oh my God, what is Pinna thinking right now?
Yeah,
you
said this.
And then seeing Fulgore take it back, I'm like, Pinna must be so happy right now seeing that.
I'm reading the chapter Fist in the Air. I'm excited. Like,
like, oh my goodness, that whole part, just him diving straight for it, it's so satisfying. Like, that is the most important bottle in that briefcase. Like, you know, like, they have no idea where Tio could be, but the way that he just went for it anyways is so satisfying. Like, I gave Kiyomaru a lot of shit about only taking one bottle and then dropping the briefcase, and while Fulgori does the same thing here with just taking one bottle, I can at least cut him some slack since all the bottles were spilled out, and it's not like he had all of them in his hands and decided to throw out everything else on purpose, so...
Yeah, I was just gonna say the exact same thing. It's so funny how, like, we are, like, cheering Fulgori on for doing exactly what we, like, ridiculed Kiyomaru, like, to death for in that previous chapter, but it's totally different circumstances. I mean, like you said, like, Kiyomaru literally had the entire briefcase with all of the bottles in it in his hand, and he had to consciously let go of the briefcase to, like, and then, like, but, like, whereas Fulgori, it's like literally they're all over the grass. He's after one thing. He wants to get the one thing that matters most to him in this situation. And so it's like, it's just so funny how, like, they're both essentially, like, the same outcome where they do end up with just one of the bottles, but, like, it's our reaction to each situation is so different. Like, Fulgori, we're like, yeah, Fulgori, you get Tio's bottle, and then us, Kiyomaru, was like, you dropped the briefcase? Like,
boo, we hate you, Professor.
I know. Oh god, it's so funny. But no, like, the panel of, like, Fulgori diving for the bottle, like, he's so, like, dedicated to getting this bottle, and I can't thank him enough.
Yeah. I'm still thinking about what you said. We ridiculed Kiyomaru to death.
I mean, we went so hard on him, and then with Fulgori, we're like, yeah, he got the bottle. Like, there's literally all the other bottles are around him, and he's fully capable of grabbing the rest of them, but we're just like, he got Saifojio. But then with Kiyomaru, we're like, you only got Zakerga, you dumbass. Like,
you dumbass.
Thought you were a genius, bro. And then Fulgori, we're like, he's the bravest man alive.
The hero of Italy does it again.
I know, like, quite the double standard of us, but it's fine.
Oh my goodness. You know what? Like, for you listening, like, what do you think? Was it do you cut Fulgori some slack, or are you gonna ridicule him like we did with Kiyomaru? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, let us know, please.
But oh my goodness, like, Fulgori shenanigans aside, let's see how this chapter ends. We have one final chunk to go through. So
here we go.
Kanchime runs over to Fulgori, and Fulgori tells Kanchime he was able to get Tio's spells back. Hanagebu apologizes to Levi as she's getting up, and she turns to look at Gozer and Hylos. She tells them both to return to her, and Gozer, who now has Kanchime's head, arms, and legs, shakes his head no and says, Kanchime. Hylos, with the legs and duckbill of Kanchime, speaks part of Kanchime's name as well. Levi tuts at this, but before she and Hanagebu can make another move, a powerful voice speaks to both of them telepathically. It's Belial, much like he had done with Gil at the end of his battle against Gash and Kiyomaru. Belial orders for Levi and Hanagebu to unleash Poruku. Speaking aloud, Hanagebu tells him no, about to vouch for the spells he and Levi have, but Belial cuts him off, asking Hanagebu if he thinks they can defeat Kanchime and Fulgori in their current state. As we see a couple of panels showing police cars and police officers have arrived at the scene of this battle, Belial tells Hanagebu and Levi that if they continued fighting without unleashing Poruku, they would only be making matters worse for themselves. Kanchime listens from afar as Hanagebu asks Belial if he's really telling him to leave Levi here to die. This startles Kanchime, and he asks aloud what Hanagebu means, telling them that if they just go home and stop trying to take over the demon world, he'll turn Levi's animals back to normal. He pleads with Levi, asking her why they can't just stop all of this fighting. Levi looks back at Kanchime with a soft, kind expression, telling him that he's a very good boy. This alarms Kanchime and Fulgori, and she continues, saying that that was never an option for her, because she is a card, and her sole purpose is to eradicate all demonic life. She calls out to Hanagebu, and he breaks open the spell bottle that contained Poruku and Dorusen. He uses one of its glass shards to cut off some of his hair, and casts an incantation that turns the hair into a talisman. He inscribes it with Chinese characters that convey an incantation similar to that which Gil had recited when uniting Waig with the fire spell power, as he recites the same incantation. He attaches the talisman to the back of Levi's head, but entrusts the power of the spell bottle's contents to himself. And just like how Gil had merged Waig with the fire spell's power, Hanagebu has merged himself with the Daruku bottle, but with Levi receiving a large beast-like transformation. And with that concludes chapter 10.
Oh my god.
So, what a way for this chapter to end, but I first want to go back a little bit to where we first picked things back up, and I just want to say, like, how on this page, I love how Gozer just has Consume's head now. Like,
yeah.
Poruku is such an incredibly weird concept for a spell, but very interesting to see in action. Like, I'm just... it's just so funny looking at how much Gozer had changed.
It's so goofy.
It really is. But, like, oh my goodness, aside from all that, there was just so much to talk about on the following pages. Like, I'm like, I have so much to say, so, like, bear with me here, but, like, I was going on a lot when I had first seen these pages. Like, I was so not expecting this. The way that despite everything going on and everything that has happened to Konsume, his family, his friends, his home, he becomes so worried over the idea of Levi dying if they continued fighting. Like, he is outright pleading for them to not go through with things and giving them a way out so she doesn't have to be forced to do something drastic. Like, he was willing to let them go. And, like, we know that from here she does the exact same thing that Waig had done, which is using this raw power of one of these spell bottles to take on this monstrous transformation. But here, we see how, like, this isn't initially something that they were wanting to do. Like, it's what Belial is ordering them to do. Like, Hanagebu is trying to argue with Belial about this. He is concerned about Levi having to potentially give up her life. Like, this is the complete opposite of what we saw with Gil and Waig, where the two of them had no real concern over the danger of utilizing this kind of power, and, you know, didn't need to be told to do it. But, like, with Levi and Hanagebu, it feels different. Like, even though Konsume couldn't hear Belial giving this order to them, like, him just hearing Hanagebu arguing out loud about not wanting Levi to die immediately indicates to him that they're basically being forced to go through with this. Like, if Levi and Hanagebu were more like Waig and Gil, then I feel like Konsume wouldn't have reacted as he did here, where he is trying to give them a way out, trying to stop them from doing something so drastic and unnecessary. And seeing how Konsume reacted here speaks so much about him still. Like, Levi had been actively hunting him down for a while now, and if she knew about Konsume, she would have dealt with him as well. Like, she is taking her job seriously and hasn't shown any kind of mercy for Konsume at all. But the fact that despite that, and despite Konsume, and despite everything Konsume had been through since this whole invasion started, like, the fact that he is the one to show her mercy like this as soon as he figures out that there's more going on, that Hanagebu is worried for her, and that she's being put in a position to risk her life in this battle is just so unexpected. Like, I think this just shows how much of a good heart Konsume has. Like, he's well known by most people as being this comic relief character, but an aspect about him that isn't brought up as much, I feel like, is just his kindness and sympathy for others. I feel like he's not naive to the kind of evil that Levi is serving for, or the fact that she's been proactive in her mission to kill him, but for him, it's also not right that she has to be forced to do this in their battle. Like, it's not right that she needs to die to fulfill her mission. Like, earlier in this volume, we've seen how distraught he has been thinking about his family and Gash and Tio and if they're all dead. And so the idea of Levi dying, like someone who appears to be forced into the situation, like, it just doesn't sit right with him either. Like, there's it's so much to, like, take in.
No, I love everything you said. Like, hard agree. Like, it's so, I love like Kanchame's like empathy and sympathy, or one or the other or both or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I just like, it's so like the fact that, I mean, like you said, like they've literally been like nothing but cruel to him this entire time, and the second like them dying like is brought up or something, Kanchame is like, what do you mean die? Like, it's also, it's funny though too, because like, I mean, he seems surprised, and like, my brother, like, you are bleeding from your head right now, like, you are, death has been on the table, like, I don't know why you're surprised all of a sudden, like, what do you mean die? Like, your land, like, you are, all your people are gone right now, like, what do you mean? Like, why are you shocked that they're bringing up death here? But anyway, but like, to I mean, that was funny to me, but like, just, I love, like, I mean, everything you said, like, absolutely agree, like, the way that we get to see like Kanchame's, like, just he's very, like, I mean, I kind of, we talked about this earlier, like, he's very emotionally intelligent, and so the fact that he has really this like sympathy and empathy for them and everything, as soon as he hears that there's like a bit of like, because this is our, as readers too, this was our first glimpse of like a sense of reluctance on the part of the card and sorcerer pairs that like Belial's sending after these people, because like up to this point we were like, oh, they're ruthless killers out to kill, and and it's like, well, yes, they kind of are doing that, like, this is our first glimpse of like, oh, they are kind of being forced to do this, which is also a theme that Raikou has explored in this series a lot, and I mean, I like in the series as a whole and everything, like with just, you know, people's like right or not right, with the demons like being forced to fight and everything like that. And so like it's always, the series has always kind of tackled that like aspect of like free will and things like that. And so the fact that we're kind of getting that same type of scenario again with these cards and sorcerers, maybe not all of them, but at least in this case with Levi and Honagebu, there now seems to be a side to them that we haven't seen up to this point. And like, especially with the face that the expression on Levi's face when she tells Kanchame that he's a very kind boy, like, this was the first time we got to see that side of Levi, and she looks genuinely like a kind and caring and considerate person. And it's just so weird, like, that's the person who was like angrily shrieking at the beginning of this chapter, what did you do to my Gozer? And now we're seeing this side of her where she's like, you're a very kind boy. And so now for her to see this in Kanchame, who has been her target this entire time, like, it's just like, they're both getting to see different sides of each other. Like, Kanchame's getting to see a different side of the situation, in the sense where he's realizing that they're kind of being forced into this, or like there are stakes on their end as well. And then she is seeing how caring and considerate and forgiving Kanchame is. Like, he's literally willing to, like you said, like, to just call all this, you know, call all this off if they'll just go home, and he'll stop he'll stop fighting them if they stop fighting him and everything. And so it's like, she's seeing this side of him now as well. It's just like, I don't know, it's like this moment like illuminates a different side of each other to each other. And it's just like, I just think it's really important for each character that they got to see this side of the other character. But like, it's just, I don't know, it's just really, really cool that it happened this way. I feel like all of my rambling, it just ends with, it's really cool, but like, this was really cool.
I mean, that's kind of how it is for me too with all my rambling. I want to say too, like, I have like one more thing I wanted to like go on about too. Yeah. Like the thing I wanted to also talk about is like how this again sort of mirrors the role that demons and bookkeepers have during the battle to determine the next king. Like, much how Levi essentially had no choice but to undergo this transformation as ordered by Belial. The demons that were selected to be participants in the battle didn't have much of a choice in that either. Like, there was no escaping from the battle unless you had someone else destroy your spellbook, but the stakes are raised much higher here in the sequel. And like, there's also these parallels going on here with Levi, again, having no choice but to undergo this transformation to carry out her mission, with how Kalulu had this violent form forced onto her for the battle. But unlike Levi here, like, Kalulu still technically had a final say on whether she wanted to remain in the battle or not, despite everything. Like, she was only forced to take on that form whenever Shiori had casted it, but it didn't last forever, and that she would eventually revert back. Like, this wasn't a transformation that would end up killing her by the end of its effect, and all she needed to do was forfeit from the battle, was just have someone else destroy her book, and then she could return to her life back in the demon world. But with Levi, it's Belial who has final say on things, and there is no option for her to simply just forfeit, and she understands this very well. This is her role, and this is what she needs to do. There's really no point in trying to go against this, which is why she's so matter-of-fact about things here. Like, as tragic as it was for Kalulu to have been forced to fight against her will when her spells were used, she was at least aware that she would just need to have her spellbook destroyed in order for all of it to have stopped. But for Levi, she doesn't have this choice. And I guess that's just basically my whole speech on that. Like, I just really love the parallels going on in the sequel, and, like, this is just such an interesting moment in the chapter overall.
No, that's really true. Like, it's so, like, what am I trying to say? I feel like this could potentially be the start of, because the way Levy's talking about it, it feels like she, like, doesn't see any way out of this scenario or something. And maybe there wasn't a way out up to this point, but, like, the way Kanchame is telling her, like, we don't have to fight or things like that, like, it just, I feel like it could potentially, like, I don't know how to phrase this, but, like, I feel like if there are cards of Belial's that feel this way, or sorcerer, no, she's the card, if there are cards of Belial's that feel this way, I feel like them being exposed to the unlimited hope that all of, like, Gash's friends and everything have, I feel like them being exposed to that type of outlook on things could help the cards in turn, like, try and regain some of their own agency, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like, I mean, obviously, like, I mean, I'm not gonna say what happens in this battle, like, we know what happens, but, like, I feel like this type of thing of, like, Levy being so resolute and, like, there's no way out of this, I have to do this, I have to kill demons or else I die, but then Kanchame's, like, situation of, like, well, you don't have to do this, we can stop, or things like that, and then just, like, Levy being met with that kindness, even though she and Hanagebu were, like, nothing but murderers to Kanchame. Like, I just feel like I feel like her getting to see that mercy from him could potentially lead to her, like, I mean, like, down the road or something like that, maybe be like, you know, we don't have, or, like, we should try and stand up against Belial or something. And, like, I mean, obviously it's anyone's guess as to what happens, but, like, I just feel like it's important that she is seeing that perspective from Kanchame, if that makes any, am I making sense? Like,
I get where you're coming from.
Okay.
Like, this is something, like, it would be really cool to see, like, this is something that sticks with her, like,
exactly.
like, later on, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I know this is, like, the second, card and sorcerer team, that we see so far here, but already, like, I like, they're already, like, very, very interesting characters. I really find both of them extremely fascinating.
Also, seeing how this time, because, I mean, compared to Waig and Gil, they kind of just seemed, like, forced together. I think one of the episodes we refer to them as, like, kind of co-worker type vibes.
Yeah.
But with this, like, as soon as Belial starts chiming in and telling, like, giving them his orders and everything, like, Hanagebu seems to really care about Levy. Like, he seems to really want, like, he wants what's best for her, or he wants to at least try and, like, make sure she's okay or something. And it's just really cool to see that type of protectiveness, because with Waig and Gil, we didn't really get that. Like, Gil did seem upset when Waig was defeated, but, like, it was never like oh, I want you to be happy, or I want you to be okay, or I care about you, I'm sad you're gone type of thing. It was kind of just like Gil just always seemed angry at Waig, but like with this situation, like, Hanagebu is like, I'm not doing that, Belial, like, she'll die. Like, and it's like, we saw a level of care in this dynamic compared to the previous one, and so it's it's really interesting because I up to this point I was not expecting that type of thing from the Cards and Sorcerers. I thought they were just like ruthless murderers out to get everyone, and it's like, while yes, these ones do have that side as well, we're definitely seeing a lot more of a sympathetic take with these two than we did with Weig and Gil, which I really loved.
Yeah, like, it's just... It just makes this whole situation, like the whole card sorcerer thing going on, just like it makes it so much more fascinating. Like it makes it more complex.
Yeah,
I feel like it's, oh my goodness, I really love it. And speaking of Weig and Gil, since you mentioned them, like, when we saw Weig and Gil use that fire spell bottle, like, we saw how Gil did all that sorcery stuff with just his hands, but here, we see Hanagebu making his incantation through using a talisman, which is kind of cool. Like, the fact that this seems to be, like, a different method of bringing out this power, but still leading to the same result, like, I just think that's really cool. And what's really cool about the talisman, too, is, like, the fact that the characters on it is actually readable, too. And I didn't realize that until way later on, thanks to one of our friends. Like, I'm not sure how it was first brought up. Like, I know at least that they had read the chapter, but anyways, I think how this went was that they themselves were able to recognize a few of the characters on the talisman, but I think it was thanks to their mom who was able to recognize the rest of them, which is kind of crazy.
Because it's Chinese, right?
Yeah, it is. And, like, it's crazy because, like, some of them are, like, definitely not as clear as others, but it was still such a cool thing to have learned about. Like, in case anyone is curious about what the text on it says, we'll throw it up on screen for you to check out if you're curious about that. But yeah, I thought it was really cool. Like, I don't know. I like this little detail a lot.
No, that level of detail is really, it's kind of like the same thing of when we saw Zara's name written on her, above her door in Arabic and everything. Just like that level of just like, the level of care and detail to it. Like, that's what it always just comes down to all the time. But I just love that is fully intact in this moment as well. Like, that's really, really cool. And it, like, ties into the fact that, like, Hanagebu is, like, Chinese. Like, he's Chinese. Like, the fact that we, like, get to see that expressed in this way is just, like, really cool. I like that a lot.
Same. It's just a fun little detail.
I was just gonna say, also, the fact, too, that, like, I mean, we don't really see the full repercussions of this until like, later on in this fight and everything. But the fact, too, that Hanagebu is putting the talisman on Levi, but he's entrusting the will of the spell's power to himself instead. Whereas with Gil and Weig, Gil just put it all on Weig.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, I mean, so that's I mean, we can talk about that later when we get to the end of this battle. But, like, I just thought it was, like, really interesting how, like, he's like, okay, well, I have to use this spell now because Bella is literally telling us to, but I'm going to do something a little different, and I'm going to put the talisman on Levi, but the spell's power is going to go to me. Like, the spell's will is going to be him. Like, his body is going to be used for that. And so it's just, like, I don't know. I mean, obviously at this time we had no idea what that, like, necessarily meant or entailed or anything like that, but it is a significant detail that he is not putting all of that into Levi. He's just giving her the talisman, but he's taking on the spell's will. Like, that is significant.
Hanagebu is kind of a real one for this, and that's why we love him. Yeah.
He's so we
love him so much.
He's so cool. I miss him.
Yeah. As of recording, we're in chapter 26, and I miss him very dearly. But oh my god, like, speaking of, like, this, like, the whole transformation stuff, like, I love this transformation for Levi. It is cool as hell. Like, we get real
so cool.
monster girl. We get an authentic monster girl in this series, and it's about damn time. Like, oh my goodness.
I love it.
Yeah, I love how it's just, like, this big amalgamation of different animal-like parts. It's just so cool. Like,
yeah, it's so, like, chimera-like. Like, the snake tail and the, like, I don't know, deer or moose, whatever, horse legs, whatever kind of animal, whatever kind of hooved animal legs those are. And then, like, bear arms or whatever, just like it, and then, like, I don't know, antelope horn, whatever this is, whatever she's made of, it just looks really cool together.
Seriously, like, it's just so cool. Like, this goes hard as hell, and, like, I couldn't wait to find out what happens from here, since, like, while we saw how useful Poruku has been in dealing with Hylos and Gozer, I wasn't too sure about how it can deal with Levi like this now, you know?
Yeah, and the fact, too, that, like, because so with Wygan Gill's case, we didn't know whose demon's spell power was being used to make Weigal fiery. We just knew it was, like, a fire spell.
Yeah.
But with this, like, this is Doruku. So it's like, this is literally, like, Gofure's or whatever else of the ancient demons had Doruku. Someone else had Doruku at some point. Oh, no. Barancha? Someone had Doruku at some point.
It was Barancha.
Okay, yeah. So it's like the fact that we know what this spell is compared to, like, the ones that Wygan Gill used. The fact that we know this is Doruku that's doing this to them. I just think that's really interesting because, like, I mean, we never saw this type of, like, manifestation of Doruku from Barancha or Gofure. So the fact that, like, Doruku is capable of doing this, I mean, I guess it kind of just ties back to, like, whatever they're doing when they're, like, breaking these spell bottles. It's like unleashing some, like, really, like, hidden, like, untapped, insane level of like, power from within these spell. Like, Doruku doesn't do this, so it's like the fact that breaking the Doruku bottle causes this type of transformation is just, like, I don't know. It's just, like, really, really interesting to see how, like, breaking these spell bottles, like, I don't know, just unleashes some, like, whole new level of untapped power from them. It's just, like, I mean, it needs to be studied. I have so many questions.
It just makes you wonder, like, what can all of these spell bottles do? Like, what's the effect of each and every one of them?
Yeah, like, if they broke open, like, the Robnos or if that's Arujo's, I have no idea. But, like, if they broke open, like, the Baraitsu one, like, would she take on, like, a completely different transformation? Or is the transformation based on the host, so any spell power would turn her into this type of monster because that's who she is, because she's the king of beasts or something? So it's like, maybe it's like, is it based on the host, or is it based on what power they're taking on? Like, that's what we have no idea about. And so it's like, would any of the spell bottles have turned her into this, or is this specifically Doruku? Like, I mean, it's really, like I said, I need to study it. I have questions. I need answers.
This is kind of nerd emoji actually of me, but I just wanted to say, like, that was Robnos' spell bottle because of, like, how the symbol thingy in it looks.
Oh, you're right. It totally looks like his, like, robot thingy.
Yeah. I just wanted to point that out.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, because it's hard when there are some demons who share, like, a spell or whatever. Because like it could be either of them, but in this case, that one does look a lot more like Robnos than it did like Arujo or something. So,
I just wanted to bring that up just because I don't know, I have my nerd emoji moments sometimes where it's like it's actually like this. I gotta. Oh But anyways, like, oh my goodness, I can't say more than enough just how much I love the battles we see throughout the series in general, like both the original and here, because it's always so action-packed with so many crazy twists, and it's just so hard to tell what can happen from here, like, which is what makes looking forward for the next chapter so exciting. Like, this was yet another great chapter, and I'm very eager to already talk about the next chapter from here. Like, if you guys don't know what happens in the next one already, like, you weren't ready for it. We're gonna talk about it again, I forgot.
Yeah. Right. I just like adding again into everything. But what was I? No, and it's funny too, because at the time of us re-recording this, like, there's been more crazy battles from that we, like, the last time we recorded this episode, like, there was a battle we hadn't seen yet, but now by this point, like, we've seen another battle, and it's just like, it just gets crazier and crazier, and like, I mean, no spoilers, but like, all I want to say is, like, this whole, like, aspect of seeing this level of, like, reluctance or sympathy with one of the cards that Belial sent. Levi is not the last time we see something like that. So it's definitely a theme Raikou is playing with for this series.
And all I can say too is, like, I can't wait to eventually talk about, like, where we are right now.
I know.
In the future.
Oh my god. We're so close. Like, I know right now this is episode 10 and there's 26 total, but, like, recording-wise, we've gone up to, like, 17 or 18. So it's like we are so close to being caught up.
We're so close, and we're working at it, but oh my goodness, like, you guys aren't ready for what's in store in the future for this series if you aren't already caught up. Like, even more crazy stuff is ahead, and you know, same thing applies for chapter 11. Like, crazy stuff happens in that one too if you don't already know what happens in that. So
yeah, volume 2 is a good one for sure. I mean, like, every volume is a good one, but, like, volume 2 is a good one.
It really is, dude. And I think with all of that said, I think we're just about done with this video, unless there's any final thoughts you'd like to share with everyone.
No, I think this is it, and hopefully after we stop recording, my voice is in my audio track. Because I don't want to do this for a third time.
Well, we'll see what happens after we stop recording for this one. But anyways.
Pray for me. Yeah, no, but this was good. This was fun.
Yeah, but anyways, thank you guys so much as always for checking this video out and making it to the end, and we hope you're excited for the next episode where this fight somehow gets even more crazy than it already has been. But for now, though, take care, and we hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.